Next Gen fam,
And we're live.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, Witch Wall Wednesday. We're bringing you an absolutely incredible show today. Thanks so much for tuning in. DG, how pumped are you, man?
I could not be more excited. You know, we get hyped. You know us. We bring the energy. Today we have a true first in Momentum audio history. We have two, not one superstar guest, but two for you. I'm fired up. I'm on it.
Yo, I know we have a lot of special folks tuning in. I want to shout out the mothers. Look, we're keeping it as a family affair. We got a father-daughter duo today. With that, we got to give a big shout out to our mothers who are tuning in, watching live. Shout out Grandma Rose, my grandmother, who's also tuning in. When she's at the salon, she's only using Paul Mitchell. Grandma, we know that you're tuning in live, ready to rock. DG, my man, we got to make this happen.
I am so honored. I must say, though, before we get our guest on stage, in full transparency, the hair, it's obviously Paul Mitchell. I mean, come on. You don't get this flow, this beautiful, without the Paul Mitchell.
And they have beard products, too. You know, they have beard products that they're coming out with, too. We're talking about innovation, so we'll have to hear about their new product. With that, y'all, we want to welcome a father-daughter entrepreneurial duo. John Paul DeJoria, incredible rags to riches story. Michaeline, now the CEO of John Paul Mitchell Systems, taking us to the future development. Jenna, let's bring them on stage. John Paul Michaeline, welcome to Momentum Audio.
Hey, thank you guys. Glad to be here with you.
That was amazing. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandma.
Shout out to all the moms and the grandmas out there. I'm a mom too, and probably one day a grandma. So my people.
Unbelievable. We are so honored and fired up to have you both here. We're going to dive right in because if anybody has read anything about the stories behind these two superstars, you might have heard the word encyclopedia. So I got to ask, in front of our entire Next Gen family, between the two of you, who's selling the most encyclopedias? Come on, we got to know. Come on, who's the dad, daughter? Who's winning that competition?
I don't think they're invented today. In my day, they were in books. Now it's on computer. Door-to-door sales, Collier's Encyclopedia. And that's been non-existent, I think, for 40 years. I don't think anyone sells encyclopedias door-to-door anymore. So I think I sold a few more than Michaeline.
Yeah,
all right,
for sure.
By default,
he takes that
Michaeline,
one.
You got the next one.
The researchers are out. They're tabulating the reports. Y'all, well, we want to start, Michaeline, John Paul, we want to go back at the beginning. So many of our entrepreneurs out there, they're thinking about, is entrepreneurship, are you born? Are you made? And obviously two very different stories. JP, it seems from a very young age, you were built this way, selling Christmas cards, newspapers. Yep. Michaeline, growing up in the most entrepreneurial environment. So JP, over to you first, but Michaeline, I want to get your answer on this as well. Entrepreneurs, born or made, how have you been thinking about that for yourself? Did you know you were an entrepreneur from a young age, or where did that framework start to develop?
No, my era was a little different. When I was 7, 8 years old, if we could get any money made, we were happy. So at 8, 9, I was selling Christmas cards. And I made a little bit of money during Christmas time, a few dollars, but for a little kid that age, it's a lot. And then I had a paper route that I would be paid so much per customer, and that lasted for a couple of years when I was 11 and 12 and 13 years old. And then I would just look for unique things to do. I know the first time I ever sold something as an entrepreneur was through the Variety Boys Club in East LA, where we were at there. We were in a foster home at the time because my mom was sick. Anyways, my brother and I made a flower plant box, maybe 3 feet wide, a foot and a half tall, out of wood. We made it for 25 cents worth of wood on credit. We went out and sold it for 50 cents. Now, this is back in the early 1950s. Anyways, so we went back, took our 50 cents, paid off our 25-cent loan to Variety Boys Club, gave them the other 25 cents for another one, went out and sold the second one, and had 50% in our pocket. Now, that may not sound like a much to you right now, but in those days, a soda pop, a big one, was 5 cents. Candy bars were 3 cents, man. So that's how it kind of started. It was just happening. In other words, I think entrepreneurs are definitely made. Maybe some are born. I wouldn't know. I kind of had the hard streak there, but to me, it wasn't hard. It was like the thing to do and make a couple extra dollars. It was fun.
I love that.
Michaeline, your environment, growing up around this type, born, made, where do you shake out on this? Obviously, your father built, making himself. How do you think about born versus made in your entrepreneurial journey?
I think it's both. I actually think it's born and made. I think that one of the things that Dad is too humble to say is he has such a unique brain. Like no one learns to think how he thinks. No circumstances could have given him the kinds of wisdom and the kinds of brain process that he has. So I do think that there is a unique thing about you when you're born if you want to tick that way. And I would say someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, yes, it's made through hard work. It's made through trial and error. It's made through all the blood, sweat, tears, the grit, the sacrifice. But just wanting to be an entrepreneur, just being willing to take the time to educate yourself and make that kind of commitment, you're already born with half of it. Again, I got to go back to Dad has this amazing line that he uses all the time. Successful people do all the things that unsuccessful people don't want to do. Right. And that to me is being an entrepreneur. It's wanting to put the work in. It's willing to take the risk. And I think some people are willing to put in the other half, which is the maid, and some people aren't.
Let me throw something else in for Mikey, if I could. I call her Michaeline, right? Going through history here. When I was 6 years old, my mom, we didn't have any money. My mother took my brother and I to downtown LA Christmas time. And she gave us a dime and said, boys, each of you hold it half and put it in that red bucket with the guy ringing the bell. And we did. And we said, Mom, why do we give away this dime? That's 2 big soda pops or 3 candy bars. And we had no money. So she said, boys, that's the Salvation Army. And there's people that don't have any money or place to live or food to eat. That helped them out. We could only afford a dime these days. That's it. But we gave something. So remember, do something to make people's lives better, because there's always someone that needs more than you. Now I'm going into Mikey. When Mikey was very, very young, a little girl, she got her sister together. They got this poster board, 3x2, and wrote on it, if you will sign this and guarantee to do something good for the environment, we will put a penny of our allowance into a charity. They went out there in front of a market and all of a sudden filled that entire poster board up with it probably an hour. These little kids there, they just felt that part of being successful is also giving back or helping others along the way. But Michaeline grew up around an environment, so did other people, of entrepreneurship. But she really jumped on it and found out very interesting things to do along the way. If I tell you a quick story, Mikey was just promoted to the chief executive officer of the company just a short time ago, a few months ago. And it wasn't me that said, she's my daughter, she's taking over. She earned it. In fact, Luke Jacobellis, our CEO, president, said, JP, it's time now for me to turn over the reins to Michaeline. I said, no, wait a little while. She's my daughter. JP, you don't know how sharp your daughter is, okay? She should be the CEO of this company right now. Let's make her the CEO presently, okay? I said, great.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So she gives and she's smart and she worked for it. She didn't inherit it.
We love each other very much. Powerful. You guys will see that through this whole podcast. This is like at work and off.
I love that. That is so powerful. And JP, something that you are quoted saying, it's what happens when no one's looking, right? When the world isn't watching you. Yeah. Are you putting in that work, or are you willing to? And I think that's so beautiful. And clearly, Michaeline, you were willing to from the start. And I want to go back to those early days that you were talking about, JP. You're 3 years old in preschool writing about, I got to graduate already because I have a job to do at John Paul Mitchell Systems. So talk to us about that. Like, how did you always know this was the dream job? And you manifested it. You made it happen. Take us through that process in those early
True story.
Yeah, absolutely. I did. I came in knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I'd go with him to work. It was my favorite thing to do ever, was to go with my dad to the office. I would go into everyone's office, see what they were all doing, see how I could help. His passion for it was contagious. I loved the people that we work with. I fell in love with the industry. So from go, I was like, I don't have time to be a kid and be in school. I got to hurry up and get on with my life. I got to go get to my job. So I came in just very driven toward that goal, and it didn't feel like a pressure. It felt like a calling. I knew that's where my heart was. They got my heart early on, and I couldn't wait to get there and serve them and work with them. And so I kept showing up to the office until someone finally gave me a job. I did. I just showed up.
And not starting at the CEO level.
No, and a 4-year-old photo shoot. When you were 4 years old, you did a photo shoot for us.
That's true, which was an accident. Dad took mercy on me because I just had stitches in my chin. And so we were just playing around with bubbles in between takes. And that's how that iconic Baby Don't Cry shampoo ad came out. It came from a working parent, as so many moments that we can all watching this can share. Yeah.
JP, Michaeline, something that our audience is always thinking about is that entrepreneurship really is A to Z. There are so many ways. There may not be one prescribed path for how do you be successful. So much of it is the grit and clawing your way. So I want to talk about leadership styles. JP building the company now, Michaeline as the CEO. JP, we'll start with you. I know that so much of what you think about is you pay attention to some vital few details and you talk about ignoring a lot of others. Michaeline, I want to compare and contrast. So JP, we'll start with you. Your leadership style, when you were building, let's say, Paul Mitchell, Talk to us about that detail orientation.
I did the same with Paul Mitchell as I did when I started Patrón Tequila, okay? And that is pay attention to the vital few, ignore the trivia many. There's so much going on around you as an entrepreneur, just so much, like 20 different, 30 different things, but only a certain amount of them are really important. If you try and handle everything, especially all the trivia, you're going to get lost, confused, and bored. So what you do in your life is you take advantage of the vital few. What are the most important things I should address, I should take care of? And how do I do it in such a way where it affects the people, the planet, and then profit comes next? How do we help those hairdressers out? And we teach in our Paul Mitchell schools also for hairdressers is how do you help your customer out first? What do we do to make the customer successful? And at the same time, it's going to include the planet and other people. So our management structure is do unto others as others would have do unto you. Not only pay attention to vital few, but realize in the beginning and further on, your people are so important you work with. They are you in your company. It's not like employees, employer. We don't do that at all. Like, we're family. We are in 105 countries right now, and we're over 40 years old, and our turnover is less than 200 people in all that period of time because we take care of our people and look for a good end result, especially for hairstylists. And Michaeline, let me let you take over. I won't handle it all because you do some things better than I do.
No, everything he said, correct. I think one of the things that's really important to our leadership style, both of us, is just we're very human. We're not, people, I go back to the same answer when people say, what's your leadership style? What do you think keeps you driven? What do you keep this? Take the ego out of it. Ego is just the most toxic thing you can possibly have in every aspect of your life. You're not going to be productive. You're going to be attached to old ideas. You're going to prohibit yourself from being able to evolve. You're going to make it hard for your team to communicate with you. Take the ego out of it. This isn't the time and place for that. Life is short. Be a human. Treat each other like you appreciate them, and they'll show up for you when you need. If you show up for them, it's really, I hate to oversimplify it, but just be a good person. Find your North Star, and don't be so polluted, to John Paul's point, by trivial things and being reactive to everything that you can't even find your North Star anymore. Big picture back. I manage and I lead from a very big picture, long-term sort of perspective. I plan for 10, 20, 50 years from now, never for today or for tomorrow.
A phrase that could be very helpful for all the new entrepreneurs, it's one of my favorite phrases, in the end, everything will be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. Do you remember that as you go, it'll eventually straighten itself out? Yeah, it really works for entrepreneurs. Really works.
It's my favorite.
I never started Paul Mitchell living in my car with $700 and made it obviously to where we are today with high quality products. Also, I want to share this with all your entrepreneurs. 2 big secrets to entrepreneurship. One is be ready, prepared to overcome rejection. You're going to get it. If you're prepared for it, it's not going to stop you and ruin it. Otherwise, people get turned off. People say 3 or 4 things that are rejecting them, and they say, well, I can't do this anymore. If you know it's coming, it won't affect you. The other thing is make sure your service or your product is of the highest quality. You are not in the selling business. You are in the reorder business. People like it so much, they want to talk about it, reorder it. You're taking care of your customers first. And Mikey's followed that so well in the business, so well.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Our audience is loving this. Shout out to some coming in. We have Jayreen in the Philippines who couldn't agree more. John Adelson, Gary Glass. We have Steve. So many resonating with these principles. This masterclass coming from the father-daughter duo. We were going to save this till the later half of the interview, but I got to ask because a little selfish reason here. My older sister, my idol, came on board the Next Gen team to lead our product team, and we are so honored to have her. Cool. So I want to hear from you both. How did you manage to build such a beautiful working relationship that maybe at times crosses over with the family ties, but end of the day, you clearly have such a passion together. Give us some insights there. Maybe, Mikey, we could start with you.
Well, no, Mikey, let me start first and put her in because this is a perfect story. About 5-6 years ago, Michaeline, with our company, comes to me and says, Dad, we need to get into social media. more than we are now. We're hardly into it at all. I said, oh, no. People go on to read magazines, watch TV commercials. I got my president, Luke, in there. Luke said, oh, I don't know about the social media stuff, man. We like magazines and TV commercials. He says, just give me $1 million for 1 year. I'll show you what I could do, right? So we gave her $1 million to go to social media. She outperformed our magazines and TV something like 20 to 1. It was, oh, my God. Boy,
Yeah.
she knows what's going on because she has the ability to know what's going on in today's world, what affects people. And that's a little segue into how we work well together. And she was right. We gave her an opportunity to prove it. Mikey, all yours.
Thank you. Yeah, that also goes with the no ego thing. I think that is why we work so well together. John Paul and I both approached it. We weren't there for ego. He wasn't trying to hold on to something for himself. I wasn't trying to push myself into something for myself. We both genuinely love the work and we love the people. And we're in it for the same reason. We want a strong and healthy industry and we want to take care of our team. So for us, we had a common goal and there was no battle. So just right there, we're more open-minded with each other. We trust each other. We hear each other out. And if there's something, I like to say, I don't speak up very often. So when I do, I would hope that those around me would listen. So few and far between when something has been really, really important and I've taken the time to revisit it over and over and over. To John Paul's credit, he could start out way over here, but at some point he's like, okay, like in my time, I got it. So I think that ego and just respecting each other has everything to do with that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The respect seems to be so clear in that even if you, and it seems like there's obviously a lot of similarities in the way that you lead, first, very human approach, but maybe we can unpack some of the differences in habits or work styles. JP, I know you talk about it, your morning routine and some of the interviews, you wake up, spend that first few minutes in bed. You're not even on email. You have so much inbound. Michaeline, you're pushing so much of the digital innovation forward. You got the team on social media. You're doing so much in the product development innovation space. So maybe we can talk about some of the key differences that y'all have. Obviously, they're all been reconciled as you continue to build together.
Sure.
But when you're in a meeting room, in a boardroom, whatever it is, are there any key differences in work styles or habits, morning, evening person, whatever it might be, where y'all you can't even believe your family because you're so on the other end of the spectrum?
Well, we're pretty well tied in.
Yeah.
Mikey, I'll let you start with it.
Yeah, I think we're pretty well tied in. I think that the only time that we have differences are actually opportunities where it really works to our advantage because I can come in, like, for example, he's very optimistic and he's very outgoing. I tend to be a little more cautious and strategic in how I think. So for me, I'm like, oh my God, his eyes are seeing this and my eyes are seeing this. This is like gold. Like they can't teach you this in class. You can't be gifted with that. So it's really nice when we do have a different opinion because it's just like, oh, it's just golden information. So really, I'd say as far as like generationally, like digital versus not, that's where we're different. We see things a little differently that way, but our brain ticks an astoundingly similar way. I don't think there's more than two of us in the world. I really don't. We think a lot alike.
I look at it this way. Michaeline, at 22 years old, had a couple degrees under her belt from college. Is very, very smart. So she's smarter than I am, but I'm wiser than her because I'm much older and I've been around longer. It blends together.
It's amazing. Such a gift to me to have that. It's like an encyclopedia to bring it back to the beginning. A human encyclopedia right here.
I love it. I mean, look at the similarities. We got Justin and JP with the beards, and Michaeline, we've got the hair slick. Just kidding, Justin. You're also smart and wise. I'm a huge fan. I love the chemistry that you bring, and something that we were talking about behind the scenes with our team. We're a startup, right? We're young. Our next generation entrepreneurs out there are just in the early days, seed, Series A, whatever it might be. And the innovator's dilemma, heck, that doesn't happen because every day we're innovating. But Michaeline, you come in and JP, maybe you want to dive in there, but how do you think about taking something that is such a powerful empire of sorts? You built an institution, but yet you want to innovate to the next level. And maybe you have a different path than how we got here to get to the next place. So how are you constantly, I guess, balancing the maintaining of that status that JP and his team built out foundationally, but also knowing that you have your own path to carve?
Okay. Also, I want to give a message to every one of your viewers out there. You're not entitled to anything. Too many kids say, I'm entitled because dad or mom made it, give me money, give me position.
Yes.
You're not entitled to anything. My kids aren't entitled to anything. Mikey worked her way up and got it. That's why she's in that #1 job. Not entitled, which is really good. But as you grow and you work together, you find similarities. But more important, you've got to learn how to listen to one another. You may have the greatest idea in the world, but listen to the other person. Give them that opportunity. Because if you listen, they could be right. It's like going back to the magazines and TV. No, this is what we're all about, but let's listen to you, Mikey. Oh, well, that sounds interesting, but here's $1 million. Let's give that a try in social media. All of a sudden, she pointed out that it was 100% correct. Now, how does this work for us? She's of a different generation. She has email. I never use email. I'd be inundated if I had email, right? So she's more into what's going on today and in life for a big group of people, the majority of the people. I'm not in touch with that group. I am through her and other young people. So she's more innovative and knowledgeable in that area than I am. It only makes sense that as you grow a company, you want to expand it for 1,000 years. You do it in such a way where you don't have to keep on having the old ideas in there. Let the new come on in and amalgamate your knowledge with new information and the new things that you have to evaluate. Amalgamate the two together, or you will be an old-fashioned company. You'll disappear off the earth and you won't be around. We've been around for over 40 years, and one day our name will be like Coca-Cola throughout the world in another 100 or 200 years. So we look at it not just now, but how do we benefit our staff, our staff's family? We have a lot of kids working for us now, from those that started with me over 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But more important, what can we do to help that hairdresser in the future, and all hairdressers as well as the public, giving them the finest products and being, of course, carbon neutral and things of this nature all at the same time. So we look at a very broad perspective going forward, not just the next year or two. We go way, way, way in advance, and that's how it works out great. And we welcome this knowledge, or we would be out of business. We would be antiques.
Seems that your team is so adaptable. Go ahead, Michaeline.
Oh, no. I was just going to answer Dylan's question. So I think it's such a great one because so many people out there might be in a similar situation where they're going into a business, whether it be a family business or not, that's been doing something really well for a long time. How do you maintain that and still drive it to where you want to go? And I think for me, if to break it down to a simple analogy, it's the same as our ethos are the same, right? Like our soul, our heart, our intention's the same, but what that looks like has to evolve with the times. So the analogy I like to use is you can be the same person. And if you're in a car and after 20 years, certain things in the car start to become less efficient or the car starts to work less, you get a new vehicle to get there. You didn't change. Nothing about you changed, but your vehicle changed because it needed to. And that's kind of how we operate. It's like our ethos are the same. Our systems, our goals, our intentions, who we are is never going to change. But what that looks like has to. And perfect example is e-commerce. We were salon only, and we still are, and we always will be. But we looked at it at first very black and white. We could be in retail or we could be in only benefiting the stylist. And I'm like, well, wait, let's take a really big step back and let's look forward. Those can't be the only two options. Let's innovate. Let's disrupt the entire industry and be the first people to say, hey, Amazon, and to their credit, they did end up doing this for us, which at first was not in their model. Kick off all the diverters. Let's only authorize our people, the stylists who we love, adore, and bleed for. Give them a new way to make income for themselves. And let's be able to sell it in a way that benefits the stylist. So those sales still get commissioned to stylists, even if they have nothing to do with the sale. We still have e-commerce sales that get commissioned toward distributors too. There's a way to innovate and still be who you are. It's scary at first, but like just be the same person, but don't be afraid to upgrade your car.
And go for
if I can just send a message. Yeah.
You got it. And go for it what's close to your heart. Like Michaeline's not my oldest child, okay? Her sister, who's a few years older than she is, okay, didn't want to run Paul Mitchell. She wanted to race cars. She's one of the fastest women in the world now. She goes 0 to 330 miles an hour in 3-point-some-odd seconds, like, drag race, so unreal. And of course, her younger brother, who's 23 right now, is an entrepreneur, starts her own little business. So also in your family or people around you, what do they really want to do? Michaeline at a very young age would say, Dad, I'm going to take over your job. I said, well, honey, you're not going to go
Oh,
over
yeah.
the whole job because I'm never going to retire. Her answer was like that in 2 seconds. Yeah, Dad, but I'm younger than you, or I'm going to outlast you. So
Like,
right now
I
she's
got
CEO, but
mine.
I'm still chairman of the board, but she's CEO.
Well, we look forward to
Hang in there,
welcoming
kids.
your brother, your son, JP, to the next gen community very, very soon.
Amen.
This adaptability, this ability to innovate, keep the ethos, but change, had no better case study than COVID. Paul Mitchell Systems as an organization, one of the hardest hit industries, salons, and in person. I want to unpack the COVID story a little bit. Incredible what you all have done for your partners and your employees, et cetera. So maybe take us back. It's March, in the US, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and you start seeing COVID happening, and you clearly, the signs are not great. Take us to that time period. What was happening? Who was in the room making decisions? Michaeline, where were you in the organization? How are you coming in? And then what happens? Obviously, you make some really big moves, really big investments to keep things moving forward. Unpack this for our audience a little bit.
So I was in LA, John Paul was in Texas. Everybody was kind of spread out. Everyone had to hunker down, stay in their houses. So this was, again, we're in over 100 countries. There was no time zone for months. This was phone, this was Zoom, this was a 3 a.m. meeting with this person, this was a 2 p.m., a 7 p.m. It was a blur. The very first thing we did, though, without any hesitation, how do we take care of our people? And that was our team and our industry people. One thing we did very differently, which I am still proud of, and even thank God it worked out really well for us, but even if it hadn't, I still wouldn't have done anything different, is most companies went toward self-preservation, and they went toward how can we save money? How can we trim this? How can we stay, fiscally healthy? We went straight toward how can we help support this industry that's given us so much so that we have a home to return to after? How can we check in with our customers and our partners and make sure just person to person that they're okay? Do you need help? Are you stuck at home with your kid? Do you need medication? What can we do? We put together immediately a stimulus program worth over $10 million. We made an investment where we had diverted funds from something, invested in a stimulus kit where we could send free product, hygiene items, color, back bar, everything, so that these clients of ours, these customers could see a light at the end of the tunnel and say, okay, when we do reopen, at least we have something to start with. I'm not stressing now about having to save money to buy inventory to reopen. They also got a 50% off coupon that they could use when they did reopen on everything that they needed to order to restock their salon and supplies. I recorded a video that went straight out to the company, and John Paul and Angus, they all had recorded some as well. And I'll never forget, I was sitting on my couch, my kids are in the house, and my only thing I remember clearly from that message was just looking into the camera and saying, we are going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Take care of each other. Relax. Like, you will be fine. We will take care of you. And everyone's productivity was through the roof the whole time. We had people all over the world, kids home, working. Everyone stepped up, and there was the most incredible amount of teamwork and synergy that came together. We had more customers than we had before COVID because word of mouth happened, and people were saying, my distributor, my regional, my JPMS rep isn't even trying to sell me. There's nothing to sell right now. They're still texting and calling to see how my kid is. They're still checking in to see if I'm okay. They actually care about me. And they're putting money into us instead of them at a time where businesses don't even know if they're going to be open in 3 months. So we did it backwards because we were driven by our ethos. And I think that people, we tend to forget that above the numbers, people care about people. And it means a lot, to take a moment and be a person.
It's at around that same time, we had a little conversation, Michaeline and I, and Luke, our president, and Jason, our super new president, by the way, and myself. And it was this. Okay, the government's putting out subsidies for people. Should we apply for them? Our people they're staying at home. A lot of them aren't working at all. What should we do? And should we lay people off? What do we do? And the answer was no. These folks have been so good to us, and they are part of our family, our billion-dollar company. Nope. In fact, I threw in $3 million a month. That's $6 million in April and May last year, and said everyone is on full salary, Whether you show up, whether you don't, you're on full salary
Yep.
this time. Don't worry about it. Government, and I wrote a letter, by the way, to the U.S. government saying we could probably qualify for the subsidy, which will save us a tremendous amount of money, obviously millions of dollars, but we're not going to take it. We're going to do it ourselves. We made the money. Angus, my partner, and I said together, hey, let's do it. Let's take our own cash and give it to our people. And we did. The end result was a letter to the government said, look, we're not going to take it, but please put hairstylists and barbers to the very front of the list to get the subsidies. Please put barbers and hairdressers. They're little businesses. They need it way more than we do. We're paying our own way. Please do that. And that's what we did. So it worked out really well. It was a quick decision for us to make. Our people first, and then everything else comes after that.
Yeah, we thought, heaven forbid, if this doesn't pan out and COVID takes over, at least we went down with our people being okay.
That's right.
That's where we were.
Our people.
People first. Unbelievable. It's so clear to Justin, to myself, to our audience. You all are such a people-centric organization, and you're thinking long-term, right? You know that we're building this business, you jokingly said, for hundreds of years, right? And Michaeline might fight you for JP.
There you go.
Exactly. And, we'll talk about the health stuff because obviously, JP, you're sitting on your fingers and eating the vegetarian diet. You're going to live to the 200, I have no doubt. But I want to stay on that philanthropic note because it is something that is so core. JP, you mentioned the story of when you had no money growing up, you still gave, and your mother, your family, it instilled the value of giving. So now, fast forward, you signed the Giving Pledge. This is a huge part of who you are. Talk to us about your outlook on when it comes to giving back right now, and even the importance for entrepreneurs out there who are building businesses, perhaps not with the profit today. Why should they care about adding that triple bottom line of impact to their work?
God, and how can you do it when you don't have any money? You're just starting out, okay? In my early 20s, call it my biker's days, that's when I used to motorcycles ride with the Hells Angels and Satan Slaves and stuff in LA. We were a stupid kid, young guys. Right? Yeah, some crazy things. But because of that little taste of it I got when I was very, very young, at Thanksgiving and Christmas, I would still go and bring some of the biker buddies with me to Griffith Park in LA, and we would volunteer to be in line serving food to the homeless and the needies in Griffith Park during 11 there. It made us feel great. Now, what happened? We felt good. Whenever you do something for somebody else and ask nothing in return, you get the greatest high of them all. And I know what a high's all about. I'm a child of the 60s, okay? So you don't get anywhere near that, believe me, as you get when you're giving to something and just feeling that I did something I want nothing in return, but I did it. So how this goes on is when you start giving of your time to do something for somebody else, that's a big start. You don't have to give money. I'm so thankful and grateful, my God, that I made the kind of money that the American dream still works. And believe me, I don't care what you're on the news, no one's going to destroy America. We're not going to become socialistic. The American dream is never going to die because it is alive and it works for everybody. And so as time goes on, we learn, well, now we have a little bit of money. Why don't we add to this? So we would give to various charities along the way, feeling that success unshared is definitely failure. At first, we did it with our time. Then we did it promoting a sports anime TV, like in Alta, I think it was Utah, the advanced ski. They did flips and everything else on skis and snowboards. No one ever would put it on TV. In the early days, we did to support them. Yeah. They didn't get on TV. We supported them. So we believe as you move along, and then the further we go, what more can we do? And Mikey can pick this up on what we do with bottles, what we do with ecology, things of that nature. But the thing is, the whole team works together. And I'll give you an example of the response of this. One day I came into the office, flew from Austin to LA, and it was about 2, 3 in the afternoon, and no one was in the office but my assistant. I said, where'd everybody go? Oh, JP, they're down at Santa Monica picking up papers, cleaning up the beach. Really? Great. Now, of course, they're paid to do that, but they just wanted to get this thing to do. When LA had their big fires 2 years and wiped out half of it, I heard about it. I jumped on my plane, flew to LA, and went with some of our staff into the Santa Cruz Mountains and planted new trees in there. We were together as a group. We had fun doing it, and that's what our family is all about. Mikey?
Yeah.
She'll tell you about what we've done ecologically.
I was going to say, I got so riled up into your speech, I forgot the original question.
Oh, the thing was,
so
Michael, philanthropically. I love you.
Oh, God.
You got us into being carbon neutral things in our bamboo packaging, all that cool stuff.
Yeah. So we have, I had launched last year a sustainability pledge for us. And basically the main pillars of those pledge are reducing our virgin plastic, reducing waste to landfill, eliminating our carbon footprint, local and ethical sourcing. We launched, and there are so many bullet points I can give you under each of those, but it will take your whole segment. But if you go on the website, it's right there front and center. And it was actually important to me and the team where we put on there a progress tracker. So we're holding ourselves publicly accountable to the pledge that we're making too. So you can tap in and see where we're at all the time.
Next Gen Fam, we're going to link to that in the show notes. You can be sure to check out everything that they are doing. JP, Michaeline, as we're in the fourth quarter of our interview, I have to make sure that we get to talking about work and life, habits and balance. You two are such shining examples of you've accomplished so much professionally, and yet it seems like you're kind of having a crazy good time doing it. You're spending time with family, traveling, giving back. So maybe you can each share, is it a habit or routine? How do you think about making sure that you're not burning out, that you're not having success but not enjoying the ride? You two, for so much of the audience, they said one of the shining examples why they were so excited to hear from you is you're making so much success and you're having a blast doing it. How is that possible? How are you able to balance with so much work, that work-life balance? How do you guys think about this?
Let me throw out a thought first from my end. And my thought is this: if you're on a train and the trip stop's being a good one, or on a bus, get off. In other words, in life is so short. We're only here for 100 years, maybe. I want to go to 125. So do what makes you happy. Because if you're happy in what you're doing, in fact, at Patrón, when I took over the majority of the company, we had a big event with our distributors. And somebody asked Francisco Alcaraz, who's our #1 formulator at Patrón, what is the secret to Patrón? He looked him right in the eye and says, it's because of the love that JP and our management team gives all of us. We make it with perfect love. That's where we come from. A good little secret there, from love.
It's true. I would say it's kind of organically built in because we like everything we're doing. I love my job. I love the industry. I love my kids. It's a lot. It's hard to balance. 2020 was incredibly difficult because I felt like it actually taught me a really good personal lesson that maybe some of your viewers can get from. It forced me to not be able to show up 100% for everything, which was the thing I have feared doing my entire life. And I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it's made me so much better. It's made me a better leader. It's made me a better parent, a better wife, a better friend, because we have to allow ourselves the room to just be good enough sometimes. So for me, I think just that balance really comes in because I like all these things I'm doing. And if it does start to feel overwhelming, I am okay with saying, you know what, I can't make dinner tonight, but I'm going to go finish this call and then we're going to sit and have dinner and then play a game after. You know what, I'm sorry, I can't show up for this meeting for you, but I'll record a video tonight after I put my kids to sleep and I'll send that in and I'll share my time in that way. And so finding balance also means finding that self-love to be okay with needing to balance sometimes. And that was a great gift that I got from 2020 because it's hard. Sometimes I do lock myself in the bathroom and just freak out and cry for 5 minutes because I'm like, none of my kids are doing their homework and this didn't get sent out and the Wi-Fi is not working. But I always go back to my favorite quote ever that John Paul said at the top of the call. In the end, it'll all be okay. If it isn't okay, it isn't the end. So just do what you can, be nice, and just try to get some sleep. I don't know. We're winging it every day, but we really like what we do, so it makes it a whole lot easier.
Unbelievable. We're all out here doing our best. It's a daunting ride as entrepreneurs, but that's how we like it. That's how it should be. It's about that journey. I absolutely love it. And JP, you mentioned trains before, so I have to ask you, when Justin and I can get on the Patrón Express, that's when we're going to have the, round 2 of the podcast. But I want to ask you both, as we look toward the end of our interview, I can't believe already 40 minutes in, I want to ask the worst piece of advice you hear being given to entrepreneurs. We get a lot out there. It's a noisy world, especially today in 2021 with all the social media email blasts. What's a piece of advice that, you don't think is true that you would say, young entrepreneur out there, hold up, throw in the red flag? Maybe, JP, we can get it your way first, and then Michael.
I would say, first of all, know this, okay? You don't need a college education to make it. I'm a proud high school graduate of John Marshall High School, okay? Okay? Most important is, along the way, you learn. There'll be failures, what you will call a failure, but look at it as a learning experience. Because when I started Paul Mitchell out of my car, like homeless, be nice homeless people, by the way. I was there once, 41 years ago. Be kind to them.
Yes,
Okay?
good
No.
PSA.
Anyways,
Yes.
but you just got to know that, okay? Along the way, you're going to learn. There'll be many things you'll call a failure, but it was one of the greatest learning experiences ever.
Yes.
And then you don't do it again, you become better. Therefore, if in your first few months or first years, you're having all these challenges and difficulties, you've learned from each one, you're not going to do it again. And that's some of the best business experience in the world you will ever get. And again, pay attention to vital few, ignore the trivia of many, and remember, in the end, everything will be okay. Michaeline?
Failure is an education. I love that. I think the worst piece of advice that I ever got, and still do get from time to time or read, is show them who's boss. I think that's the weirdest expression in the entire world. And I think especially going in as a female, as someone who's young, as someone who's the boss's daughter, there was so much like, you really have to be authoritative and show them who's boss. I'm like, that is so not us. It's so not me. And I can guarantee you, if any of my team members were to say, like, is Michaeline your boss? I would hope that they would say Michaeline's more of our leader. Boss has never been my thing. That's not like my deal. I love to lead our team. I love to collaborate with our team. Showing who's boss is just going to make everyone talk about you behind your back. I'll tell you. That's not going to work.
Worst book ever written was, I think, in the early 70s, a bestseller. Worst book ever written, they got off the shelves, was called Management Through Intimidation, Winning Through Intimidation. Worst one that ever wrote. More people had more problems with that attitude than you could ever imagine. It's all done with love. You know, love is very, very strong. If you treat people with love, whether you like them or not, treat them with love. You know, if they're not good people, get them out of your life. And I've run across people I thought were great, but got them out of my life when I found they were too greedy or not really honest or nice people. But in the meantime, treat everyone with love, you know, as if, you know, hey, that's your best friend and you want to do something very nice for them. Just spread out the love. Don't dictate. Don't rule by dictation. Rule by including them in on what you're doing and telling them why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Just from this short time together, it's very clear that y'all really live by these values. You don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. Before we let you go, there's so much that y'all are building. Of course, we have the what we currently know as Paul Mitchell Systems. We currently know as Patrón. But Michaeline, there's so much happening in the product development innovation lab. JP, you're launching ventures left and right, new spaces, mobile hardware, grow Appalachia. Tell our audience, give us a little peek of what's coming. What are you guys excited about that maybe other people wouldn't know? And if there's any way our audience could get in touch, get involved, any sites that you want our next gen fam to be bookmarking and favorite.
Well, I would say this, guys, it'll be kind of neat to see what we do to change the world. We have a website for our family foundation, JP's Family Foundation. If you go online to JP's Peace, Love, and Happiness Foundation, you'll see a lot of things we're doing throughout the entire world to make things change. Yeah, something like what you can look forward to that I'm involved in right now is, for example, Rocket. We are really advanced in some of the telephone technology and Wi-Fi systems that we're implementing throughout the world. Less of a cost, everybody gets free phone calls and free texting throughout the world once it's installed and it's going there. We're in the medical research right now, some of the greatest breakthroughs in the world that you will see within the next 10 years, probably more medical breakthroughs than have taken place in the last 50 years. We look at cutting edge technology that helps people and diets that help people out. What can we do to help somebody out? We're also involved in real estate and developments, whether it's for homes for the homeless, like here in Austin, we helped build 250 small homes for homeless people living forever if they wanted to. Now we're expanding to 300 more. In phase 3 and 4, we'll be a total of 2,000 little homes for the homeless. We don't want to pull them out from under bridges and out of parks and have no place to go. We want some place to go, and then an educational program. We even have wood shop, metal shop, entrepreneur shop, fishing shop, everything in the world, crafts. So now the homeless can learn a job, get a job, and many of them are just doing great. Still stay there. They eat organic food. A lot of really cool things that we're doing that we're into right now. They're very, very exciting. And you know, Mikey, please take over, sweetheart.
I'll be really quick because I'm watching your clock. So John Paul Mitchell Systems has its first jump into the artificial intelligence space, hair AI technology, very exciting. We launched Clean Beauty pretty recently, and it's still buzzing way up here. It's our first launch into the clean beauty space. We're very, very proud of it. Sugarcane packaging, and it's farm to table, farm to bottle, which is our play on farm to table because it's grown on a biodynamic farm and manufactured right there. Sugarcane packaging, all the good stuff, organic biodynamics. So we have that going. And then coming up later this year, I can't say exactly what it is, but I will tell you that it is an extension to the tea tree line that I've never been more excited about. And I've actually had our chemists batching me little secret pilot batches of it for over a year because I'm so obsessed with it. And we have something coming into the bonding space. So look out for that. Those two launches in particular, as well as our emphasis on color and sustainability, like, we're coming for you. We're coming in hot. We've been laying the groundwork for a long time and we're coming in. So
Just
be on the
getting
lookout. Yeah, but social is a great place, actually. Our social channels are pretty good with sneak peeking, stuff like that.
We're also investing.
We're going to link all. Go ahead.
Sorry. We're investing in so many cool things, but I know we're running out of time right now. Just a whole lot of things. So maybe we'll pop on your show and tell you about some of the new ones. What we're doing, for example, in CBD, and what we think the future is for mankind with that incredible product.
You both are incredible. We're going to link all of this in the show notes. As Francie, tuning in from Munich, says, I love Michaeline. I love John Paul.
Thank you.
And I love Patrón. Shout out, double tap on that. These two, absolutely dynamic.
Thank you, Chris, for the sweet compliments.
Amen. We are so grateful for you coming on board and sharing your wisdom with the next generation of entrepreneurs. Let this be only the first of many. We've got a long line of partnerships. We had a blast. And hopefully only continue momentum for all you're building. And again, until we see you next time, we are so grateful to both of you. John Paul, Michaeline DeJoria, two absolute
Peace, love, and happiness,
bring us
guys.
back
All of you. Peace, love, and
this
happiness.
was so fun.
Thanks so much, guys. Be well. Absolutely incredible.
Unbelievable.
Interview. Unreal. So next gen fam, you got to understand, behind the scenes, look, Dylan and I, once this popped up, we're like, oh my God, father-daughter, entrepreneurial powerhouse. So Dylan and I are like, wow, 2-on-2 interview. How's this going to happen? Beyond exceeded expectations. So human, so authentic, so much love coming to the screen.
If you met these two, it's so clear. They are people first, and that's how they lead their lives, their businesses. They are humans. You wouldn't know. Billionaire, star entrepreneur, CEO, it doesn't matter. End of the day, they're teaching us the playbook to live a great life full of value and meaning. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. All right. So look, JP is somebody I've looked up for ages. He's been like an entrepreneur idol of mine. By far and away now, Michaeline's my new favorite CEO I've ever met. So humble, but clearly so intelligent. I love what she said. She's like, if I speak, I think people know, because she's constantly listening, constantly absorbing. Two of the most emotionally intelligent leaders that we have met. Just an incredible, incredible show.
Next Gen fam, we thank you so much for tuning in. You know who we are, but Justin and Dylan from the Next Gen HQ team, we're here to give you momentum to keep pursuing your dreams in both business and life. We're so grateful for you tuning in. And until next time, we will catch you live back here on Momentum Audio. Now that's
love,
momentum.
Guys.